Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So, good morning, everyone. Today we are meeting, not technically meeting, but today we are meeting for the first time in this new academic semester. I will be teaching you probability theory, and I did not meet you in 101 real analysis. So, there are some things that I thought I would first clarify in this lecture. We'll also go through the syllabus and what all books we are going to use. So here is our syllabus for probability theory. So we would start with basic classes of sets, and then we would reach till random variables in unit 1. After that we have to study distribution functions, which of course all of you know, but we would study it in a more rigor theoretical way. Then we would define expectation. Again, expectation is something that you have been I know you have been studying expectation since BSc first year, but here we would define expectation with a measure theory or probability theory approach rather than simply using defining it as sum or integral over PDF or PMF. Then we would go for independence, and finally the most important part, convergence. So these are the books. This Bird's book is actually covering most of what we teach, so it's almost as per the syllabus, so that can be our kind of a primary textbook. But there are some typos in these books, and better explanation can be found in these two, Atreya and Lahiri and Alan Guth. These two have quite a good explanation. Now okay, so why do I need probability theory? This might be the question that some of you are facing. Why do I need probability theory? What happens if I don't study? You have been studying statistics, you have also studied regression and multivariate, and until then, some of you may not have studied regression and multivariate, but some of you have definitely studied, and you might feel then, I don't need theory. Whatever probability I already know, that is enough for me. So why? See, the thing is, first of all, we have to remember what is the difference between a statistician and an engineer. In today's world, you are going to be competing with engineers to retain your jobs, basically to fetch a job also. Okay. So if you are going to do that, you must have some extra skills. Engineers do have some extra skills. They might be street smart. They might know programming much better than you. So what do you bring to the table? So what you bring to the table is the statistical theory, command on statistical theory. Engineers are definitely learning basic statistics and machine learning algorithms, but they are going to learn those in the form of a crash course, whereas you have been putting efforts since last 3-4 years. So you are going to study statistics for almost 5 years, whereas these people will be trying to do the same things in 6-7 months. So if you are doing things for 5 years, yes, of course, you are definitely going to be better at them if you have studied it in the right manner. And one of the things which you study is the theory part of it. Okay, so what is the theory part? How does all this originate? Again, do I need this on day-to-day basis? Maybe not. Mainly you will need this if you are expected to come up with your own algorithms. If the current algorithms would not be sufficient, then you are expected to come up with your own algorithms. And if you are going to do that, then you should know how these algorithms have been generated and what are the theoretical requirements that would make sure that these algorithms work. Okay. So that's why I need this. And in fact, as I said, that's why we need all these things. So why do we need these things? Because if you define a new estimate and you want to study how it is going to behave in the long run, you need to know all these laws of convergences. Now what do I mean by estimate and what do I mean by long run behavior? So let us say you are studying some transaction data from some online website. So you have data on, so transaction data would generally look like, say here I have customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, etc. And here I have product 1, product 2 and so on up to product n. Suppose I take data on 1000 customers. I may have a binary data. So customer 1 purchased product 1, did not go for product 2 and so on. Maybe purchased this product. Then something like this. So I have a binary data. So 1 means the product was purchased and 0 means product was not purchased. Okay. So if we are going to have such sort of data, then, and from this what are we trying to infer? Maybe something like patterns, which customers are more likely to buy a particular product, or which customers are similar to each other, which products are similar to each other, and so on. So of course we will define some sort of summary statistics which would try to tell us what we want. So for example, if I want to see how many customers buy product 1, okay, so what I can simply do is I have 1000 values. I see how many ones are there, which would basically be sum. So suppose I have 353 people who have purchased this product, then my proportion of people who buy this would be 353 by 1000. Now I have data on 1000 customers because currently I have only 1000 customers registered on my website. I am suppose running a startup online marketplace, but I want to increase. Obviously I don't want to be happy with 1000 customers. In terms of my marketing, 1000 is nothing. So suppose I want to go from 1000 to say 5 lakh customers in a period of say next 6 months. So when I want to go do that, I want to be prepared. I want my inventory to be up to date. So I want to say, okay, how many units of product 1 I need? It is something near to this number. Of course it won't be exactly this number, but something near to this. So when I say, okay, I need something near to this, near means how near? So this number is 0.353. So can I roughly say that, okay, it would be somewhere between 0.3 to 0.4? Like somewhere between 30% to 40% of the people would be buying this product? Maybe, maybe not. So this we are going to study, or we are going to conclude using laws of large number. So going from this sample to population is not what you can do arbitrarily. Okay, for that we need all the results related to convergence, because this is my sample estimate. From that I want to go to population estimate, and that many of the times is in terms of confidence interval. Okay, so fine, this is what I am trying to do. For that I need all the laws of large numbers, and to reach the laws of large numbers I must know all the theory behind it, because sometimes even the existing laws of large numbers may not be enough. I may need to develop new laws of large numbers, or I may need to modify existing laws of large numbers. For that I may need to use the theory. Another thing, how many of we are actually going to develop new algorithms on a day-to-day basis? Let's face the reality, most of you are not. So yes, once you enter a job, you may not need to know even the statement of central limit theorem. You may not need to know what is convergence and probability. You may not need to know what is Borel-Cantelli law. But still we study all these things in detail, because I used to say this in real analysis also. See, education is many a times not just about the product, it's also about the process. And it is especially true for subjects like probability theory or real analysis, that it is mainly about the process and not about the product. The logical thinking skills that you develop during this course, or that you develop during the 101 real analysis course, those are going to be helpful to you in the long run. Because what is your age today? You are somewhere between 20 to 23, right? 21 to 23. You would be entering job market next year, and so means you are at most 24 when you enter a job market, and most of you plan to do a routine life, that is you plan to work till like you are 58 or 60. So you would be working for next 35 years, roughly 35 years. So do you think the world is going to stay same for the next 35 years? No. Initially people started learning C, C++, then other languages came. Even in statistics, initially people used to use just Excel, then they went to other menu driven softwares like Systat, SPSS, then came programming type of softwares, programming plus menu driven like SAS, or purely programming like R. Nowadays people are going into Python. So even the shift from R to Python, or still there are many companies which still focus on R. So currently there are two major players in market, R and Python, but of course many more are coming. For visualization, some people want to go to Tableau. For managing your database, you would obviously need DBMS skills, you may need SQL and so on. So all these things, they are needed in the current scenario. If you are going to work for 35 to 36 years, you are going to need to learn many more things. Of course, you are not going to do MSc after every 2 years, just to update your skills. But what you learn during these 2 years of MSc, that should prepare your mind to absorb whatever new things come your way. So you would be developing that logical thinking skills during these 2 years, so that whenever a new thing comes up, you can easily read and understand it, or you can easily see video lectures and understand it. You don't need to go to a complete 2-year MSc course every now and then, every time when a new technology enters your life. Okay, that is also the aim of this course, to build your thinking skills. Okay, so you develop the thinking skills here, and then you implement those thinking skills, then you use those thinking skills to absorb whatever new techniques you will need to absorb while surviving, and not only surviving, while succeeding in your professional life. Okay, so that's why even if you feel that you are never going to need central limit theorem, I would urge you to do this course seriously, because it's not just about the product, it's about the process. The realization that you get, while discovering a new theorem, that is going to be helpful. The feeling, the process through which your mind went, that is going to be helpful in the long run. Okay. Now, so this is basic thing. Now, what is going to be my plan for the lecture? Since today is the first lecture, I am not going to go into any actual content. What is the plan for this semester? Because all of us are doing this for the first time, complete online thing. If hopefully things are under control in few months, you may get to return to Pune, but we should be prepared for entire semester being online. So there are 4-5 apps which the department or university recommends us to use. It may be Moodle, it may be Microsoft Teams, it may be Google Meet for live sessions, or it may be YouTube, and so on. So in this week we would try to, or Zoom, of course, Zoom is also there. So in this week we would try to explore using different platforms, and whichever platform is most suitable for all of us, we would try to stick to that in the coming weeks. Okay, and you have received a schedule. You might feel that if there are going to be online lectures, why so strict schedule? Every teacher may not take live lectures. In fact, I am also not planning to take all the lectures live, because I know many of you may not have enough connectivity and bandwidth to attend the live lectures. So, but we have still sent the schedule, so that if at all everyone wants to take live lectures, they can adhere to the schedule. But I would say you should use the schedule wisely, because you have the schedule, now you have a devoted time for every subject. So what I would say is, use that 1 hour for that subject only. So whatever recorded material the teacher might have sent you, or whatever printed notes or typed notes the teacher might have sent you, use that hour, use that 1 hour to study those notes or to record, to see those videos or to solve. Okay, and then remaining extra time, whenever you have off periods or in the evenings, use that to solve tutorials or assignments or to revise through the given material again. Okay, I am thinking that maybe every week I can send 3 to 4 live lectures, and between say Monday to Thursday, 3 to 5 recorded lectures between Monday to Thursday, and you can try to finish going through those videos by Friday evening, and then on Saturday we can have one small interactive session where you can discuss whatever doubts you have on the material shared during that week. Okay, if we can have trial run for the first couple of weeks. If we feel that you don't have enough things to discuss in 1 week, maybe we meet after 2 weeks. Or if you feel that you have too many things to discuss, maybe we try to meet twice, maybe once on Friday and once on Saturday for a live interactive session. But please remember that I am not seeing faces of any of you, so it is very important that I receive feedback. Otherwise, we may not be on the same page. I'll be doing something, you'll be doing something, and in the end, it would be wastage of time for all of us. So I don't want that to happen. So if you have any concerns, queries, please write to me. Drop me an email or send me a WhatsApp message. I'm sure most of you have my number by now. Email, of course, you have. I keep on sending you emails. And because it's online thing, because I'm not getting regular feedbacks, I'm thinking that I can try to have more smaller assignments also. Of course, tutorials would be there like usual, but we can have more smaller assignments, just like the questions that I ask during the class. Okay, so that is one option that I'm exploring. So let us try to see what all can be done. So you have, I will send PDF of this syllabus and books. I'll try to send with annotations. I don't know, I'm also trying for the first time. So let us see what can be done. Again, don't run away from these things thinking that online things is difficult. I don't see the face of a teacher and hence I don't understand. I could put my face here, but putting my video would increase the size of the final recorded video, and I know most of you are not on Wi-Fi. Many of you are on limited data packs, so that's why I'm not putting my face here, and I think you would get used to it. I mean, you have attended my multivariate lectures online, at least some of you, so you would get used to it, hopefully. Okay, but if all of you feel that no, it is absolutely necessary to see the face of a teacher to understand things, do let me know. I'll try to do it. Okay, right now I'm not doing it just because of the bandwidth, just because of the data concerns. Okay, so for the time being, I will stop. From tomorrow, we will try formal lectures. As I said, for the first 2-3 lectures, I will send the recorded videos, and then we would try to have a session on Saturday to discuss what all has been done and what all you have understood, what is not clear, and so on. Okay, so let us stop. Thank you.